Lighting and form come next, and if we look at how these lines work, when they come closer together they appear to curve. When they're further apart they appear to be closer to us and forming a wavy pattern. Old etchings were done with this. An etching is a copper plate with a wax surface over it, and then they cut through the wax, allowing acid to eat into the copper. They do this by the use of lines, and those lines can follow the shapes of the waves. Earlier in this film I told you about the possibilities of having a white room with lighting in such a way that there are no shadows and no colours. If we don't have shadow or colour or form, we can't see anything. So we need lighting and shadow and form and colour to be able to see objects. Where we place that lighting is vital, as in the chiaroscura of Rembrandt, or the great artists such as this one here, where you can see lighting from different directions to give shadows, the roundness of form, and to give space in between objects. Here you see how placing a shadow underneath something with a space gives an illusion of there being a distance between a floor and the base of an object. Shapes of shadows can be surprising. You see the same shadow cast by the tube as by a sphere. Also look at the surface of the block on the right as to how the shadow gives an illusion of the surfaces being punched outwards. You can see with the highlights in this painting how certain figures and salient points are brought out by having the lights shining across those. By making the shadows further down below them, we can give the illusion of more distance in between the spheres and the floor. In this case maybe the floor is at an angle, or it's in perspective. Now we reverse it and the spheres appear to be going upwards. Next, let's give directional lighting to the spheres themselves and see how effective that is. You'll notice it's where the light's coming from, by the lightest area on the spheres. Look at how directional lighting is so stunning used in this next painting in almost exactly the same way, instead of spheres, on the heads of the figures and across the bodies. Lighting and tonality can give so much drama. Now combine that effective tonality and angle of light with colour as well, and we get the really full effect of how we can use colour, tone and light. Notice how subtly I've changed the colour of the shadows, because the shadows will be reflecting the colours above them. Look at how subtly the evening colours are used in this tonal painting. Here's exactly the same triangle repeated twice, but with the shadows placed differently. One obviously has a second side to it, the other doesn't, because the light is shining on that side. Also I've partly hidden the first triangle. We can be very dramatic with dark behind and light in front. The same with these paintings here, where you see lighting coming from the side or from in front, and the figures disappearing into the darkness behind, blending with the tones in the dark behind, as I'm doing here with this tube and this triangle also. Just one side of that triangle now gives the illusion of there being a triangle in the darkness, but we can't see it. Again Rembrandt, the master of the chiaroscura, the dark and the light, showing how a figure can be brought out from the darkness behind. Lighting is also very, very important in portraits. It can make a person look like a horror movie, or much softer and more charming. Lighting can bring out the lines in a face or make it look more gentle. Look at these different examples of photographs, for instance. Which one is your favourite? The usual is to have the lighting from slightly above at a 3/4 angle. As you see, if it's straight on the face, it absolutely flattens things out. If it's from behind or above, then it becomes too dark and you don't see enough of the features. But it may be those dramatic effects you want, so it's up to you to play and explore with light. And here you see what happens if we put the lighting from below. We get the horror movie and Count Dracula. We need to use the lighting to its best effect to get the mood and the atmosphere we want, and to bring out the features of the person we want. We can make them look older or more ugly or more gentle simply by the lighting. These are the photographs I decided to choose for the demonstration of my friend Marcel, and I'll show you how to do a simple portrait now. Here are the selection again, so you can see why I chose these particular photographs. I hope you agree with me. I want you to start off by drawing a simple egg shape, and even to get that equal may be quite hard for you. Then draw a line down the centre of it, vertically, and also draw lines up horizontally, halfway down, a quarter of the way down and 1/8 down. or as you might prefer, halfway, halfway and halfway again. These will be the lines for the eyes, nose and mouth. These are the points where we're going to draw the salient features. We can draw almost two circles for where the eyes will come. The eyes are coming obviously within the eye sockets. Just above the halfway line we can draw where the eyebrows will come around the top of the eye sockets. If you feel your eyebrow, you can feel that's where the eye socket is. It follows the line. Then we draw the top of the eyes, just the eyelids themselves, in the shape of the eyes of the person that you have in front of you. We're going to add the hair on later. This is just the basic shape of the skull. We can adjust the face later as well. We draw the pupils, but we do not draw the lower eyelid. We show that by a little bit of eyelid, just cutting away the bottom of the iris and the pupil. Next we work on the nose, which again is a quarter of the way down again, or halfway again. We draw the edges of the nose and the nostrils, and just where the end of the nose comes, in again the same shape as the nostrils and nose in front of you. Moving on from that down to the line between the lips of the mouth, and the shape of that line of that person, the smile. Then a little line below the lower lip and above the top lip, and the smile lines each side, and you've almost got your person already. If you've drawn the right angles and shapes of that person in front of you, their face will almost be there now already. Then the ears come between the halfway and the quarter. The neck then comes down from below the ears into the chest. It doesn't stick up like a giraffe on a matchstick, the head of a giraffe, on top of the shoulders. It comes into the front of the chest. Finally, we can adjust the shape of the neck, the shape of the face, and we can add the hair, and then we can add the shading to give the form of the face and the smile lines and blemishes and dimples. We can draw the head from the side in exactly the same way by doing a slight oblong box and then the neck coming down from it at an angle. Remember that we don't look straight ahead. Our heads are nearly always at a very slight angle tilting forward. So we draw this box, we do the halfway, halfway, halfway again lines, and you see how the face can be built on those lines from the side angle. The nose coming in at the eyes and out, then back into the nostrils at the halfway line, the mouth then at the final halfway, and everything else forms in exactly the same way down the head. See how I use the tones behind to bring the light of the face out. So we don't just draw a face and shade it. We think about the lighting behind the head and the face as well to make it show more in form and perspective and volume. Okay, let's repeat that quickly and then take you through to a demonstration drawing of Marcel. About 10-15 years ago now, I was sitting in a pub and a very tall lad came up to me, be about 6 foot something, big fella, and he said, "You're Mr. Wood, aren't you?" I said, "Yes." He said, "I want to buy you a drink." I thought, well, that's a change. A big chap like that. I was a bit worried at first why he was approaching me. He said, "You used to teach me art." And I said, "Oh yes." He said, "So I want to buy you a drink." I said, "Well, that's very kind of you. What's the reason then?" He said, "When you taught me to draw portraits at school, and I've now joined the RAF and I'm in ground crew, and I make £5 a time drawing portraits of the people in the forces. So we had a great time and was making a few bob." So there you go. Let me show you the way that I showed him. A very simple way to draw the portrait, to make a portrait of somebody from the front and the side. We'll start with the front. I'm going to draw a full portrait down here in a moment, but I'll just show you the way of going about it at first. We start off with an egg shape. Simple egg shape like that, and find the centre line of the face, so straight down the middle of the egg, and then our basic measurements are halfway, halfway and halfway again. So halfway, a quarter and an eighth. Now these are approximate measurements. They will change slightly, but for a Caucasian they're almost identical. The only changes for the African face, Negroid face, is the forward jutting out of the jaw and the angle of the front of the face, which I'll show you later. But the proportions for this will be approximately the same with everybody. Bigger ears, smaller nose, eyes, slightly different shapes, but the proportions will be about the same. So here, from this point here, we have the top of the nose, and from there come the eyebrows to the side of the face, And these eyebrows are following the socket of the eye, which is this sort of shape. So within here are the eyes, and on that line, just inside the width of the nose here, come the top of the eyelids that we draw. You need to do 2 lines for that, and then the iris of the eye and the pupil, and then the bottom of the nose here, just indicated by the side of the nose, little curl there. The lips come here. We draw the inside of the lips, and the ears come between here and here. Now that's our approximate measurements. The neck comes from just below the ears here and into the chest, and the shoulders come out from the neck. Onto that we can add the hairstyle, because the hair comes on top. And it's these salient features that will change on each portrait that we do, on each person, but where they come is about the same. So if I want to put some hair onto this guy, I can give him a parting here, coming down the side here, like that simply, or I can make it into a girl and bring the hair right across and down across the shoulders. So it's only the changing of the face here, the shape of the mouth and nose that will change. I'm going to leave a little bit of room for the hair because Marcel has some hair, even though he's into his 60s. And we have this basic egg shape, approximately the shape of his face to start with, just to get us started off. Find the centre point. We have a centre point, it's easier to see each side whether it's level or not. Same with drawing the bottle, but I'll show you about that later as well. So nice rounded. So that's approximately the same as the egg shape of his face. Now all I have to do is find the halfway point, which is about here. And again a quarter, and again an eighth. Now to draw Marcel's face, so we find the top of the nose here, and we're going to use one of the photographs that we saw earlier, which has quite nice shading on it, which I've explained, the 3/4 angle of slightly to the left and slightly above. So his eyebrows then come out here and down. Around that line, just above the line. His eyebrows come fairly close down over his eye socket, so because his eyes tend to come just up into the eye, under the eyebrow here. So then we have the eye itself, just look at the spacing there. Coming down and around. Then pupil and the iris. Now, unless we're afraid or frightened, we never see the whole of the iris, so the whole of the pupil, and not usually the whole of the iris either. Leave a little bit of white there, just reflecting the light. Same there. Come across to this eye, and we've got to same thing here, it comes right up into the eyebrow there, that distance right. So I'm drawing things, as I said, in my proportions. We don't draw the lower eyelid, we just indicate that with the iris and with the pupil. We might, with if a woman's made up with a lot of mascara or eyeshadow, then we might show a little more of the lower eyelid. Reflection there, a little bit there. And the shadow comes down, just indicate the lower eyelid fraction there. These are the salient features. I say we can go into more detail with the shape later. All we want to do is just try and find Marcel's face. Hair comes here and over the side of that, and his ears coming out, as I was saying earlier on, just about here. Coming down to the line of the nose here, same here, and we come down with his nose. We don't draw the line, so the line, there's no line down the nose. We only indicate that by shadow, and by using some light shading, look, we can get the impression of the nose being a line. And the nostrils here, and to the underneath the nostril there, same here. Shading, shan't do too much shading on this yet, I'll go to that later. I just want to get a feeling of form. And here the shadow across the, we will just shade it under here, a fraction, just under the eyelid there. And the same here. And we come down to this area above the lip and into the mouth down here. See how easy it is to do a portrait this way, because we know where things are going to come. Right down to his chin. Now we can start to look at the shape of his actual chin, which is a bit more round, and he has a bit more jowl coming here, a little more. And a smile line that comes from here down, outside his mouth. Same here, with quite a big line that comes out. Bit more chin. And the shading at his neck, his collar comes just here. You know where things are. Now, we start with the hair. Just out here we have the hair coming, and you see how it comes over that egg shape, because that egg shape was his skull. We can rub out these construction lines in a moment. They were only there just to get us started. You could do them much lighter, but I want you to be able to see them. We can start to make him aged a little bit more by just putting a few of these lines in. Let's take a rubber and rub out this construction line now, because we don't need them anymore. And how to get the effects of hair we've already looked at, and I showed you techniques. So I won't do too much of that here. Just a bit, I'll rub in, and my soft pencil, so I can use my fingers to rub all this in and get some shading going. And I'll come back to the rubber in a moment. Now I've got to feel these eyebrows a bit more. This is a 6B that I'm using. Remember that B stands for black and H stands for hard, so HB is in the middle, hard black. And a 3B is fairly dark and a 6B is very dark. So I've got a nice soft pencil that I can rub in and work in here. To get my effects. We've already established the basic form of Marcel. We don't have to do a lot more with Marcel because I have this form already here. And we want light against dark and dark against light, so we can play with all of those things in a moment. Maybe with a bit of rub and scrub as well, which is what I'm doing now. I'm doing the rub and the scrubbing. And we'll come back in with the rubber in a minute to take some of these highlights out. Don't do quite so much around there. It's coming over his ears. A little bit of shading down here. We want light against dark and dark against light, so I'm going to just explore this at the moment and put a bit of charcoal on there. That was an ordinary soft pencil. Let's just work some charcoal around the background to give my darks in the background very quickly. Because we should always be exploring and experimenting. So we'll rub that in now. A bit darker still, I'll rub that in. I'm using an ordinary drawing cartridge paper here. We can work up these tones now more strongly, bit by bit.